Welcome to The Backstory with Dr. Ricky Singh. This podcast is focused on bringing you the latest research-based information about dramatically improving health, well-being, and quality of life. And here's your host, Dr. Ricky Singh.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Backstory. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to manage stress and anxiety and even a little depression and feeling down during the holidays. We know that the holiday season often brings unwelcome guests. And no, I'm not talking about your sister-in-law's new boyfriend. I'm just kidding. I'm talking about stress and anxiety. And the last thing we want to do is ruin our holidays by worrying about the vast array of demands, from cooking meals to shopping and cleaning and entertaining, just to name a few. But I hope with some practical tips and being realistic and planning ahead and asking for help, I hope I can offer you some ways to minimize that stress that accompanies the holidays and ward off some of these anxiety-provoking feelings. You never know. You might even end up enjoying the holidays more than you initially thought. We have all been in the situation where stress is peaking, and it's really hard to stop and regroup. But here are a few ways to avoid getting caught up in the negative thoughts about the past, about the future, and being just a little bit more mindful. Hopefully, your holidays will be a little bit brighter. So the first thing I want to say is to be realistic. And what I mean by this is that the holidays don't have to be picture perfect. They don't have to look like they did last year, and certainly like they used to look pre-pandemic, which seems like was an eternity ago. We all know that families change, dynamics change, families grow, there are new additions like kids and grandkids, and certainly we want to maintain some of the traditions and the rituals that we have in the past. And sure, it's okay to hold on to a few, but try to be open to creating new ones. The big problems with holidays is that we often experience too much of a good thing. And I've spoken in previous episodes about stress. And while stress in doses is important for survival, it's important for longevity and challenging the cells, we also know that too much stress has a negative impact on health, both mentally and physically. So when there's too much planned with fun activities, with too much food and too much drink, all of that can lead to a lot of holiday stress, not to mention the cardiac risks, something known as holiday heart, which is beyond the scope of this talk. And all of that excess can often lead us to feeling a little frazzled rather than fulfilled. So be realistic and set expectations. The second thing is to stick to a budget. And I'm not just talking about in terms of financial budget. Yes, there are limits on the number of gifts you can purchase, and you're going to shop for family members. But I'm also talking about budgeting your food and drink, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I've talked about this a lot in the past, and I'm sure you've heard this, that while giving someone a gift can offer some temporary joy, I'm sure we can all appreciate the fact that these material items rarely deliver us with sustained happiness. So stick to a budget. Don't overindulge in the gift giving, unless that, of course, is someone's love language. And by planning ahead and setting aside specific days for shopping and setting aside specific days for cooking and cleaning, and most importantly, set aside some time for connecting with your families and friends. Again, it's all about planning ahead and being realistic. The third thing is to say no. And we know it's very easy to say yes, and it's much harder to say no, especially when you're afraid you might offend someone. But often what happens when you say yes is that you end up feeling resentful, you end up feeling overwhelmed. Believe it or not, your friends and family can often understand when you can't participate in every activity, and they realize that it's not possible to see everyone during the holidays. So it's okay to say no to a few of them, or all of them, if you so desire. And in keeping with saying no, don't let the holidays become a free-for-all when it comes to overindulgence. Because if you abandon your healthy habits, the things you've been doing all year, you're only going to feel more guilty and adding to more stress. So some of these tips on trying to stay healthy during the holiday season include: first, try having a healthy snack before the big holiday meals so you don't go overboard on sweets. Remember to always eat the rainbow, including vegetables and fruits and things of that nature. Get plenty of sleep, which can also contribute to decreasing your stress. Try to do some regular exercise every day. Earn those calories, as we like to say in our house. So get up in the morning, do a boot camp or a high-intensity workout, and then, yes, enjoy some food for the rest of the day. And as always, try to avoid excessive intake of alcohol, tobacco, and vaping, which we talked about last month. And the last tip, and probably the most important thing, is that as we get ready for the holiday season, is find time to take a breather. Now, this probably sounds like a no-brainer, but sometimes we actually forget to take deep breaths and let our bodies get the oxygen that it needs. Remember, it's very important to make some time for yourself. Find an activity that you enjoy, take a break from your friends, take a break from your family, maybe even spending 5, 10, 15 minutes alone without any distractions. This might actually refresh you and calm you down enough to handle everything that you need to do for the rest of the day. Perhaps do a breathing meditation, or even taking a few deep cleansing breaths can greatly reduce the level of stress in your body. So we're all preparing to travel this week and next week. We're going to visit our family and friends. And while we do this, I really encourage everyone to put your plans on paper. Write it down in black and white just to visualize how realistic they actually are. I know in my house, we put a calendar up on the fridge. We write down all of our activities for the month, so we really get a sense of where our busy days are in the month and what week is going to be very busy, and where there are a few days where we just take a break and we sit there as a family of 4 and chill and relax on the couch, and of course watch Home Alone again for the 400th time this year. Don't get me wrong, I love that movie. But in the end, the holidays are a time where we tend to focus on others, and we tend to neglect ourselves. We buy other people's gifts, we cook food for everyone else, and no doubt it's a very high stress time, and that's why it's much more important to find time for you. So if you know in advance that the holidays are going to be stressful, plan ahead and make sure you're scheduling some me time. In the end, don't let the holidays become something that you dread. Just recognize your holiday triggers, be aware of your financial pressures, stay within your limits, stay within personal demands, and I hope with some planning and some positive thinking, you will find some peace and joy during the holidays. God bless you, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. I'm Ricky Singh, and here at The Backstory, we've got your back. Take care.
Thanks for listening to The Backstory. Please subscribe, rate the podcast, and review The Backstory on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Play Music. And feel free to share this podcast on social media or even your own website or blog. This podcast is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice. To learn more about Dr. Singh and his clinical research, please follow him on social media. You can also sign up for his newsletter by going to www.rickysinghmd.com. That's RICKYSINGHMD.com.